Hey, friends, we're going to talk about innovation today and why outdated leadership, sort of top down, and that resistance to innovation is costing your mission millions. Before I dig in, I want to share I had a call with a new organization that joined the club recently, and we were talking about their street team and what that would look like. And in 30 minutes, we mapped out like half a dozen campaigns, bringing in the creator economy, influencers, and partnering even with big brands. And the pathway to unlock another $200,000 for this particular mission. It was wild what we were able to come up with in such a short amount of time. And the action steps to implement, totally doable. Totally doable. It was like, okay, which campaign do you want to roll with first? Where's the low hanging fruit here? What are the next steps to go create and pitch and develop your street team? Which, by the way, very simple. We have a complete align and amplify framework inside of the Purpose and Profit Club coaching program that goes over that. But it was like, I left so excited. She left so excited and just like, oh, can you imagine bringing that to your board? Like it's done. And you're like, check out what we created. And all of a sudden, there is this buzz about your organization online. And then you back it up with, funding. You back it up with followers, you back it up with social shares, you back it up with new subscribers, new volunteers, you back it up with the impact all over in person and online for your organization. So I'm so excited for her. I'm so excited that she joined. And it's just going to be such a fun like case study for us to develop together and see how these collabs happened without paying these influencers a dollar. One of the pieces I really honed in on her and we talked about was, this is an influencer or creator. When they say yes to be a part of your street team, this is them repping you, right? So they're like, oh my God, I'm so excited to be a part. I'm so excited you asked me. This is an honor. This is a gift. And how do you create that? So very simple. We teach it inside the club, and then I support organizations to build out their street team, to mobilize them, to, figure out, where do I find them? Where are the simple yeses? Where are they? Where are the easy yeses? So we walk through that. So all of that first required this particular staffer to be in a position where she could say, here's what I want to do. I hear you. You want us to raise more. For them, visibility is also huge, more than fundraising. So it's like, we really need this awareness nationally. She's like, I hear you. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's the next step. Now, she didn't show them some best practice from 1990 or even 2000. She's like, here's the forward thinking model that even with a small staff, we can accomplish. And it was joining the club. So that requires leadership, whether it's board members, the executive director, the CEO, that leadership to understand if you want a different outcome, you have to take a different action. So let's kind of set the stage here. I often see the boards, I love you, but you're often very disconnected to the reality of actually running an organization. Very little, very disconnected. You pop in for your quarterly, maybe monthly meetings, couple of emails, and you pop back out, right? And so there is this mindset of like, oh, well, I'm oversight, but yet in practice, they have no idea what it takes to run and grow a nonprofit. And then there's this dissonance. Most board members come from the for-profit sector, which we love, right? We love it. Now, in the for-profit sector, there is a culture of investing in tech, investing in talent, investing in new and bold strategies. But then in the nonprofit sector, these same board members are expecting you to make miracles on a shoestring budget, right? Well, don't invest in that tech. It's too expensive. Well, we can't pay our staffer that much. That's too much, right? We got to pay them the minimum, right? So here's what I want to offer. Playing it safe is costing you big. So I want you to think about today as a pattern interrupt. It's like you've got a habit going and we're going to pattern interrupt today. So your leadership needs that fire and they need that passion And that starts with you. You have to present that to them. You have to show them a different, better, newer, stronger way. So it's going to take you to rise up and show them, right? And your willingness to challenge the status quo. That's going to be really, really key to moving from this outdated dated leadership model that is costing you millions and is costing you so much time as the staffer, and actually change this. Okay. So most boards, most leadership kind of ignore these essential trends that could be driving your organizational growth so much faster. What do I mean? Modern tools, modern fundraising tools, CRMs, modern tools online that could reduce friction. So this could be automation, this could be digital campaigns, donor engagement platforms. These cost money. Okay. All of these cost money. And there is, they make you money faster, right? And yet there's this culture of like, well, hang on, there's something that we've already are always been on that, doesn't cost us much, right? Or this one's basically free, so let's just do the free one. Like, that technically Excel could be your CRM, right? So for many new organizations, it kind of is sometimes. It's basically a Google Sheet or Excel. That technically could be where you keep your donor lists and your email addresses and anything like that. And do you know that, like, so could Nordstrom. Nordstrom could say, let's keep all of our customer information in Google Sheets or Excel instead. And I can't even finish the sentence without laughing because it's ridiculous. It would be a ridiculous way, because I would call Nordstrom and say, I have a return. And do you know how many Christina Edwardses there would be on that sheet? Do you know how long it would take? And then the bandwidth of doing this slow way. But you're like, yeah, but it's free. It's free. No, I want Nordstrom and every retailer I shop with to have a robust customer management system. So I never have to call them. I can just pre-pack and ship my return, get what I need when I need it, right? And that saves them time and money. And then I go there and shop with them because I enjoy the experience. Okay. So the avoidance of these modern tools is costing you money because there is friction everywhere in your donation experience. Meaning, my litmus test is, can I donate from my couch? Can I donate to your mission right now, today, if I'm sitting on my couch? That means I got my phone in my hand, you sent me an email, or I saw your post on Instagram. Can I click the donate button? Or is the experience so terrible and so full of friction that I say, forget it? So, what is friction? Friction is not mobile friendly, not mobile first. Friction is having to click through too many screens. Friction is having to enter in way too much information or have it not pre-populate. Friction is having to get up and grab my credit card. Friction is trying to remember my PayPal login, if that's all you take. Those are all friction, okay? There are better tools out there that can expedite this process. So by the time I get your email, click the donate button, it's 10 seconds. If you need help with those tools, send me a message and I'll send you my favorite ones. You can also go to splendidatl.com/tools. There's some favorites there too. Okay. So I want you to think about, yeah, this is an upfront and sometimes ongoing fee, but they deliver massive ROI. Think about all the Christinas of the world who aren't donating because there's so much friction because you're trying to save $3 on a transaction fee. Stop it. Don't do that. So don't have this lens of nickel and diming your growth versus what smart investments do I want to take today that could help unlock a 10x return. So one would be a digital fundraising tool. One would be a CRM. Sometimes it's skill building. Sometimes it's having expert feedback, somebody alongside of you, like a coach or a consultant who can help you go, okay, here's feedback before you launch the campaign. Here's feedback during the messy middle of the campaign, right? Those types of investments, worth it, worth it, worth it. So fear is the root of the resistance here. Whether it's your board or your leadership, you've come to them with a great idea. You've come to them maybe even wanting to join something like the club. You've come to them saying, I want to run this really amazing campaign, or I'm asking for help. And so I can increase my skill set and learn this method for the organization so we can raise more, right? Boards fear a few things. One, they fear alienating current donors. Ooh, what will everyone think, right? If suddenly something's different. Suddenly the interface is different. What will they think if there is a $3 charge on their $100 gift? You guys, stop it. Stop racing to the bottom for that. Right? But there's fear. And this is a big one too. If you're doing something like a social street team or you're starting a new innovative strategy, there's a big amount of fear there of like, what if this doesn't work? Okay. That fear of like, anytime with email, I think about this with my email course of like really pushing the personalization, the authenticity, the true story from the sender instead of it just being this like sterile generic messaging, right? There's fear around that. That feels expansive and scary because the thought behind it is, what will people think? Or think about this. Maybe you normally send an email a couple times for a fundraising campaign. And what if you 3x'd it? So instead of sending 3 emails, what if you sent 10? What fear would come up for you, right? And I think of it as the board fear. Like, what will the board think? What will the executive director think? Oh, people won't like it. What if people unsubscribe? Fear, 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 right? But the truth is, the fear is there either way. So the fear is there if you're not bringing in enough donations. Think about that fear. How am I going to meet this campaign goal? How am I going to get my board to help me fundraise? How am I going to get this donor to give again, right? All those are like fear questions, tight questions around not being able to raise more because you're scared either way. You're scared either way. So it's like the fear of staying in the status quo and having the result you don't want, right? Or the fear of trying something new and just having that feel new and scary. First time you ride a bike, new and scary. Haven't done it before, right? First time you do anything. First, second, third time can be public speaking, right? A lot of fear around that. 20th time you public speak might feel a little bit easier, right? So I just want to like normalize that fear doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Think about this. Think about how much bold brands like Apple or like Spanx were willing to feel fear and do it anyway. We're willing to lean into their vision despite that initial resistance, especially from people they worked with. So you think of Apple and they're like, all right, this is what we're doing. We have this tiny, tiny flip phone or whatever we were on. No, we're doing this iPhone and there's not a single button on it. And think about how many people were like, that's a terrible idea. iPhones don't have buttons. Remember, we were used to like those little buttons, like little mini keyboard buttons before. Think about how many people at the executive level said, this is a terrible idea. People want buttons. People will hate this. You've made the phone bigger. People want a small phone they can put in their pocket. How many times did Steve Jobs have to say, you're wrong, watch me, right? Or I hear you and we're doing this anyway. Same thing with Spanx, same thing where it's like everybody's saying this is an idea that's never going to work, right? And that's okay that they think it's never going to work, right? You need to be so relentlessly committed to your vision, your campaign, your mission, whatever it is you're rolling out, that when somebody presents you like a big old fear sandwich, you're okay and like you give it back. You return it back. You don't have to meet their fear with like, oh crap, you're right. This is a terrible idea. We're not going to do it. Starting a street team sounds scary. We're not going to do it. No, starting a street team does sound new and different. And we're totally going to do it because I have the support and the method to make it happen. And I see that it works for organizations like ours, right? And I see that you want us to raise more this year. And there is literally no strategy to do so other than just wish, hope, fingers crossed, and like make more foundation contacts. What does that even mean? Right? Hope we get grants. No. So don't let fear stop you. And do not let the fear that board members or leadership project on you stop you vying for what you want. So I want to offer, you actually don't need everyone to be like, this is a great idea. You should totally do this. I get that we all want that. Like that feels good when everybody's like, great idea, go forth. This is the thing. But if you wait for 10 out of 10 people, 10 out of 10 staffers, board members, leadership to tell you this is a great idea, it is done, dusted, old, tired, worn out. Do you know what I mean? Like by now, TikTok's pretty much in our everyday life. There was a time when if you went to your board and said, I think we're going to start a TikTok, or your executive director, they would have been like, what is that? That's not for us. That's weird. Terrible idea. And you would have been like, all right. But think about if you're like, you know what? I hear you. I hear you that you're saying you don't know what it is. I do. I know what it is. And I'm taking this TikTok training and I'm going to go for it. I'm going to own this platform for our organization. Watch me. Okay. Watch me. I think about an organization that came to me, the Live Like Blue Foundation, and they came to me with a really large spreadsheet, actually 10,000 plus names. That's what they were using. And that's historically what the organization was using. And they said, we need a CRM. They got a CRM. Shout out to Bloomerang. They joined Bloomerang. And then that was like their first level of like, okay, just because technically we could keep going with this Google sheet doesn't mean we should. Should we invest in tech? Yes. Then they said, okay, this is our cadence of email. This is what our email content sounds like. These are our messaging. And they came to me and we totally revamped the whole thing. Like we said, okay, we're doing it in a completely refreshed way. And that refresh meant that I pushed them in two areas. One, I pushed them on story to get more personal, to get more authentic, to get less sterile. And two, I pushed them on frequency. So I really upped their frequency. And what was wild was, even though there was that fear, of course, what if people unsubscribe? What will people think? This is not what they're used to, etc. Their open rates went up past 60%. Okay. 60%. Now, when they run a campaign, the campaign that followed that, they 2x their goal before the end of the day, because their audience was primed, right? Their audience was already very, very warm, very, very engaged, and it made it feel so much easier. So the big takeaway here was breaking away from like safe practices with email, safe practices with marketing and online fundraising, and moving into innovation, moving into bolder, consistent communication made their donor base become highly engaged and take action. I want to share another case study. There's an organization, I was looking them up today, and they're a crisis text line. Okay. And so what happened was they noticed that national kind of traditional crisis hotlines weren't reaching younger audiences. Okay. So what did they do? They're like, well, here's the model for the crisis hotline. Maybe we should make ads about it. Maybe we should just keep doing it and hope people use it more. Like, right, what are all the ways we can get people to use this old school way? Instead, they said, we're going to launch a digital first approach. So they actually offered crisis intervention through text messaging. Then they marketed that to younger generations using, you ready? Social media and influencers to drive awareness. The results I just looked up, 6 million conversations, increased access to mental health support to underserved demographics. So meeting donors, beneficiaries where they are in digital spaces can significantly impact your visibility, can impact your impact, and can impact your funding. So when you look at an old model, whether it's the old model of the program or service or old model of how you market and fundraise for the program or service, sometimes you have to be willing to sunset something. And that means taking a big old leap. I find I'm never quite ready to take the leap. I just take the leap, right? If I wait till I'm ready to take the leap, then it's old, it's tired. Everyone's doing it, right? Take the leap, give it a shot. Try and not wait for 100% buy-in. So let's dig into some tactical ways you can kind of break this barrier with leadership. One can be, this is almost like step zero. Do you even need permission for this? So for example, if it's a campaign you want to try, if it's a partnership, if it's something, can you just roll with it? If it's sending an extra email a month, I find there is a culture of too much oversight. If you are a, mid-level or higher staffer, shouldn't you just be able to send an email? Shouldn't you be able to, create an amazing online campaign? I just want you to go to step zero, which is, am I asking for approval for this because I need it? Or am I asking for approval for this because this feels scary and I want somebody else to tell me it's a good idea? Like, kind of check yourself there, because I want you to tell yourself that it's a good idea first. Okay. So that's step zero. Step one is, should you need approval, whether it's to join the club, join one of my programs, to start an innovative campaign you've come up with, anything, right? pitch a new sponsor. I want you to go to leadership with this. And if you hear the resistance, I want you to call out the fear. Name the fears holding back leadership from saying yes and reframe them. Show them the real cost of staying stagnant. So they're like, oh, I don't know. This may, whatever their objection is, call it out and say, I hear you. And what's your idea? What's your plan for us to raise another 100K this year? Then shut up. See what they say. Okay. You want to be, it's like going toward instead of going away. I like to think of these meetings as, of course, they're not going to be like nodding along in agreement. This is the first time I've ever told them this idea, or this is the most fiery time I've ever told them this idea. I had a call not that long ago with an organization that was a couple million in funding annually. And they expressed to me, oh, they had such a good idea in their role to just go all out with a street team idea. Okay. And specifically with certain partnerships in their local area. It was so good. And they basically said, we're not getting buy-in from leadership. And they're kind of happy with the status quo. Okay. And that was that. It was sort of just like, so I don't know what else I can do. And it's like, okay, pause. What else could you do? What could you do to like wake them up? Okay. Why are they happy with the status quo? Why would this help them? So if you had a great idea and you're like, I know we can launch our street team. I know this campaign would be so fun. Here's why it would be so impactful. Then I want you to back into it. How does this help the ED do their job? How does this help the board do their job? What's in it for them? What are the benefits? And there are benefits. Could the ED get a raise from this? Could you get a raise from this? Could the board suddenly realize that like, crap, they're not hounding us all the time to fundraise. This is amazing because they started this street team. Or how, like, I really want you to think about what's in it for them. Why should they say yes? Even if they're not the ones who are executing on this, they're not the ones who are running with this, they're trusting you to. Same thing with the like email example. What would be the benefit, even if it's scary, to send more emails? What would be in it for them, right? Couple of thoughts there. So you can always reach out to me if you have your questions on this, but I want you to spend time thinking about that before you go and pitch your board or pitch your boss for any idea, for any continuing ed support. What's in it for them? Now, in this conversation, bring evidence, like share stats, share case studies, share stories, share this podcast with them. So it's sort of like, so they can see the writing on the wall that like, this is the future of fundraising. They can see it. And the other piece I would say is like, tell them now. Now is the time to do it because you don't want to do it in 5 years when everybody else is doing it. Do you know how easy it is to get a yes now? Because it's not oversaturated. Creators and influencers are not sitting around having a DM inbox full of nonprofits asking them to become their ambassador. No one's asking them to become their ambassador. They're waiting. They would love it. So talk to them about how the opportunity is now, not in 5 or 10 years. You may even be able to like back it into the strategic plan, right? How does it help accomplish this? Now, I would expect their objections or responses. So you can kind of pre-identify what you would expect to hear from them and be prepared for those responses, what you want to say. For example, oh, we don't want to alienate donors. Okay, totally understand. Guess what? I don't want to alienate donors either. I love our donors, right? You guys actually have the same goal. You both agree. We don't want to alienate our donors. We do want to build out a new pipeline of donors, right? Our donor pool isn't growing strong or fast enough, okay? Safe strategies are already alienating potential donors who crave authentic, bold campaigns. Playing it small limits who we can inspire. How is it that by choosing to not alienate donors, you actually are alienating the donors who could come? Kind of a mind-bendy one, but think about it. Another objection you might hear is, we've never done this before. Okay, yes, you're right. We've never done this before. And that's exactly why we're stuck. That's exactly why you look at the past 4 years on our 990 and it's barely increased. because we've never done this before, because we haven't tried something new and something bold. And I want to offer this sort of like tangent response to this, which is sort of like, oh, no, but we've already tried this. No, remember, we have that social media person. We already tried this. No, this is not that. So if we're talking about a street team, I want you to remember we're flipping it on its head. This isn't about your organization creating a bunch of social content and just hoping people see it. People aren't going to see that when you have a small following and the algorithm shows about 1% of your followers your content anyway. This is about getting in front of other people's audiences as a trusted brand ambassador, right? They're your brand ambassador. They're advocating and endorsing your organization. So don't let anyone say, oh, we already tried that. You ain't tried that. Okay. What if this doesn't work? What if this doesn't work? Okay. What if it does? Okay. The cost of trying and failing is far less than the cost of doing what you've been doing and staying stagnant. Think about that. Our street team, the way we teach it, you actually add new street teamers every time you run a campaign. They're not one and done. These are not, one-off positions, transactional ambassadors. No. So even if you run your first street team campaign and you don't hit your goal, it's still a success because what happens? You raised awareness, you got new donations from new donors that wouldn't have come in your world even if you didn't meet your goal. You likely got new followers and new email subscribers. I'm not sure how we could perceive that as a failure, considering the alternative is just talking to the same old audience, doing the same old thing again and again and again. And I'll leave you with what innovating fundraising success could actually create. The big viral movement of the Ice Bucket Challenge, $220 million raised for ALS research. Think about it. It put ALS on the map. If you were like me and had never heard of ALS, you heard about it when a bunch of people were dumping ice water on themselves all over Instagram and Facebook at the time. Think about that. Now, if you sat in a boardroom or you sat in a meeting with leadership and you pitched them this idea, what do you think they said? I'm sure they said, that's crazy. What are you talking about? Dumb idea. Think about all the pushback. What does dumping ice have to do with ALS? I don't get it, right? A lot of that pushback. And yet somebody said, and we go, and we're trying it. And this is work worth doing because we have a disease to find a cure for. I love that passion. I love that passion. It's like, let the ripple effect happen, but you have to be the one to get out of your own way. And you have to be the one to let your board or leadership also help get out of the way too, by showing them what's possible. Okay. And by believing in it too. So this isn't just about breaking through with board or leadership. It's about really breaking through for your cause. How else do you want to do it if not for a street team, if not for, ditching outdated, boring storytelling or old school fundraising galas, right? What is your plan, right? All I see all day, every day are causes that can't afford to wait, that cannot survive on like okay money, that cannot survive on okay, like crumbs, when you need a flood of donations. You need a flood of donations. You can't take that trickle. And I think it's the trickle that fools you, is you think, well, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. We're staying afloat. And it feels like that okayness is a sign that it's working. And instead, I want you to view that okayness as like a drop in the bucket. If you had more funding, what would you create? We have organizations that are literally launching programs 3 years early because they got enough funding to do so in the club. That's what I want for you. And they could have said instead, we're running. We have our program. It's happening. We'll get there. We'll get to that place in 3-5 years for that second program. Okay. No, this can't wait. Our cause can't wait. So start having these hard, but maybe not so hard conversations with your board and leadership. Be that catalyst for change because your cause deserves nothing less than your own fire and passion and advocacy. And it deserves people to advocate for it alongside of you. I will see you next time. As always, I'm here. If you need me, book a call with me. And if you're like, I'm ready for this, I know I want to work with you, but I'm not sure where to work with you, I'm going to give you a little, offer, which is book a call with me. We'll go over the 3 steps. What I do for my sales calls is I go over where I want you to focus. So I listen to what's been kind of your challenge, where you want to go this year and beyond. And they will give you 3 steps to focus on this year. So the calls are very, very valuable for action taking and just to orient you. So I like to think of it as like the calls by the end is like you have directions to plug in your GPS. So that's not just me just selling you about a program that I offer. I'm in fact listening and sharing where I think the next 3 phases for your organization are. All right, I'll see you next time.